What is up, guys? Welcome back to Thirsty Thursday with Happy Hour Hoops, another podcast. It has been quite a bit. We've had a lot going on in this NBA offseason. Donovan Holden here, joined with Jake Micah, as always. Jake, it's been a long time. It's good to be back on the mic and, excited because just like that, we're inching closer to the NBA season yet again.
Yeah, I feel like this is our training camp day one practice. We're just showing up. We're in shorts and t-shirts and helmets coming out here and just trying to just gonna go through. We're not gonna hit on everything this summer because this summer has been crazy as usual NBA summer. Not a lot of as big moves, but a bunch of little like how you're playing 2K and you go against somebody, you're like, damn, I forgot that dude was out. There's gonna be so many of those moments. Like, damn, that dude's on that team now. Like, oh, I forgot he was on. I was reading today, like catching up, reading some articles about just like the full offseason. David Aldridge has a great one on The Athletic where he kind of goes through all the teams. And there were some signings. I was like, damn, like I kind of forgot Kelly Olynyk signed with the Pistons. Like I was like, oh yeah, like he has a ton of money now with the Pistons. DeLon Wright is on the Hawks now. Completely missed that one. I really liked I thought much higher of the Hawks just because they're DeLon Wright signing today. So there's just a bunch of little tertiary signings. We're going to try to touch on the big stuff, but just happy to be back talking hoops again. So, Dunny, we're going to start with our new segment here at the top. It's the story of the summer this week. And, Dunny, what is your story of the summer? What have you been most interested in following so far?
Yeah, so the summer league, I mean, kind of as a whole, and we're gonna get into that in a little bit. So I don't want to, jump too far into this subject. But one of the points from there, kind of one of my favorite, is actually the emergence or the reemergence of LiAngelo Ball, Jello as they call him, because I don't know. The Ball brothers have already just become such a great story in the NBA. So the more the merrier. I mean, obviously, Lonzo is a respected point guard in this league. LaMelo had just the craziest, flashiest rookie season that you can really have as a point guard in this league. He's been dominating. And then Jello, he's back. He looks in much better basketball shape. He's back out on the court playing in the summer league for his brother's team, that is the Charlotte Hornets. And he had himself a few games. And I think just watching that and, watching the come up of Jello, him playing with his brother or him playing on his brother's team, LaMelo watching from the sidelines. It was just cool moments all around. He had a few big games. It's cool to see Jello back out there balling.
Yeah, man. I never thought that everybody's talking about the Ball family takeover in LA, or whatever. No, Charlotte, North Carolina. But it makes a lot of sense. The way that LaMelo looked last year, why not do everything to make that dude happy? When's the last time we've seen Charlotte with a super duper star? They're gonna have to do everything they can to keep that dude there for a long time. So bring in Jello, and he looks good.
He did.
He really doesn't look bad. He's got enough size that he can, probably not be like a sieve defensively at some point in the league. So I hope he sticks on. It'd be good for the Ball family agenda. LeVar would be really happy.
Yeah.
Let's complete the manifest destiny, get it going. Summer League was fun, man. I think my favorite thing was Jalen Green just talking shit about the Pistons and just starting this rivalry that we didn't know that we would need between Houston and Detroit. But he's taken all the shots at the Pistons for not picking him. But he was like, I wouldn't want to go to Detroit anyways. It's like, you got to pick one. But I understand not wanting to be in Detroit. I mean, it's not the best. Compared to Houston, I mean, he probably seen Harden racking up numbers, and he's just like, I need to be here for a bit. But what did you think about Jalen Green overall, and how do you feel about him? He's looking like he's setting himself apart as one of the superstars, at least. Maybe on the court, still up in the air, but he's gonna have one of those superstar personalities coming out. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's like this year's Anthony Edwards, just an automatic A+ interview when you get him on the mic. He's going to make you laugh. There's going to be a clip on social media that just goes viral in Jalen Green interviews because he's proven that already. But yeah, as far as his game, man, his jump shot really, really looked better than I expected. And, the short stint, small sample size that we saw Jalen Green he was a better shooter that I at least remembered. And watching on film, he looked good. He looked really competitive. I mean, yes, he's talking the talk, but he's also walking the walk on the court because he's getting it done. He's backing up, saying that he thinks he should have gone number one. He truly believed that. We got to see him and Cade go up against each other, 1v1. And Jalen looked like the better player on that day when they played each other. So Jalen Green, the confidence impressed me, and then also, backing it up on the court. I think he's, a step in the right direction for the Houston we have a problem Rockets.
Yeah, I mean, they got Usman Garuba too, who a lot of people loved coming out. Had a tougher summer league, but yeah, they're taking those steps. Obviously, they got the building block piece, and he's a guy that looks like he's ready to take on the franchise on his back. Whether it works out or not, we'll see. But he's not going to shy away from it, and that's all you can really ask for with a top 5 pick for anybody like that. Speaking about the other guy that you were just talking about, Cade kind of looks like Cade looks like he has his moments where he's just clearly the best guy on the floor, and then he just kind of floats around. And there's times where you're like, I wish he was doing a little more in this moment. Were you? I mean, it's summer league, and so the thing I always try to just not react to summer, not even overreact, like just not even react. Like I try to summer league is kind of like
it's safer to do that sometimes.
It's fast, yeah, and it's like fast food for your rookie takes because you can just load up on some guy because he plays 3 games and balls out, and then he shows up in the league and he has no business being there. We've seen that plenty of times. But what did you think of the first impression of Cade in the summer league in his NBA debut?
First impression was he looked a little lax. I did see that he looked a little casual out there, and maybe that's because of the guy that we just talked about. I mean, it was, if you're comparing the two, Jalen Green is just, polar opposites as far as how their summer leagues went. I feel like he brought the heat, the energy, the talk right away. And Cade, I mean, he had some good stat lines. He had the highlight plays that he's going to be making on the hardwood in the NBA this season. But like you said, it was just, a little lax. My question for you too is, so are the Detroit Pistons planning on playing Cade Cunningham at point guard? Like, will he be their starting point guard, or is he going to play off ball?
Yeah, man, they can do a lot. Like they've set themselves up as like a very versatile team. I don't know if he's going to play point 100% of the time. I feel like maybe their thought process is going to be, we can take some, ball handling off of him. We have another guy that can handle the ball in Killian Hayes, and kind of see how that develops. And just one of those 2-guard, 3-guard system. I mean, we've seen that play out a lot. Dwayne Casey had a lot of success with, Van Vliet and Lowry in that kind of mold, playing them together for the first time. Nick Nurse kind of exploded that. And those two guys have a little more size, so I could see it going either way. I think he should have the ball. I think you should just give him the ball, give him the keys, and just let him go through the growing pains. But I can see the argument for kind of seeing what else he can do on the court.
Yeah, I guess the biggest negative I noticed is I feel like a lot of people are just considering that he's going to be this true point guard for Detroit. And a lot of people are labeling him that position, which, granted, I mean, he can play point. He can be that primary ball handler. But in the summer league, his handle did look like it needed to be tightened up a little. And I just worry if they do, kind of throw him into that role and just want him to be the playmaker for his teammates and for himself, that could go south. But, I mean, like you said, it's kind of, Detroit is, they are what they are right now. They have this generational talent, or a guy who's supposed to be this generational talent. Like, you might want to just give him the rock and say, this is your team now. Do your thing.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's honestly, if that was me, that'd be my bet. Just give the kid the rock. He's shown the talent and keep it going. Anything else that jumped out from you from summer league? Your Celtics had a nice performance. Peyton Pritchard is like the summer league darling. You were probably happy during that. It was good to keep that basketball rolling for you in Boston there.
Yeah, it was nice. I was excited. I'm always excited for summer league anyway, because it's just bonus kind of Celtics games in the summer. But it was also cool this year. I thought it was unique because, aside from when I got to watch Jalen and Jason a few years back dominate the summer league, it's usually a bunch of nobodies, playing for your team, especially if your team's competitive. All your best guys obviously aren't going to play, but the Celtics are in this weird tweener position where guys like Peyton Pritchard, Aaron Nesmith, who got notable playoff minutes this past season,
Yeah, that's true.
Romeo Langford too, like those guys were literally playing against the Brooklyn Nets, a few months back, and now they're playing in the summer league, and so you don't usually get that type of talent to watch during the summer league, at least for your own team across the board. So that was nice to watch, and then I got to see a few of the newcomers for the Celtics too. And hey, I mean they were, head and shoulders above everyone else in the summer league. They were the best team until that championship game where they absolutely just flopped against the Kings.
Listen, Davion, he's lockdown, bro. We knew, but we didn't know.
He got co-MVP, Davion Mitchell, that is. And his team, the Kings, won the Summer League championship. The other MVP with him is Cam Thomas.
Hang the banner.
Yeah, right. They might as well. They might as well, dude. But overall, I was excited to watch the Celtics. Peyton Pritchard was electric, as you alluded to. But yeah, you gotta. I mean, dude, watching that championship game with Davion Mitchell. Whew, I mean, he is looking more and more just like a beautiful pick at number 9, I believe. The Kings selected him this year. Talk about Jalen and Cade. Like this dude looks league ready. As far as summer league, like you said, it's better not to react at all. But if I'm overreacting about someone, I honestly think it's Davion Mitchell.
I'm okay with that. I was gonna say the comment popped up out here, and I was like, I know exactly who this is and who it's going to be. And it was Stevie hyping up Davion. Yes, Stevie, this is just for you, honestly. We put the Davion in the notes. We were like, this is just for Stevie to get excited about. Cam Thomas, also unfair on the Brooklyn Nets. He's going to be ridiculous. He's going to have a bigger role than people think, and he's not going to have to do shit but fill it up. Great pick for them. He had a fun summer league. All right, but overall in the summer, we've seen the league, like we said at the beginning, the league shifted, not with big gigantic moves, but a bunch of little moves all over the place. All these contenders, I mean, all these contenders and teams that want to be contenders making these big moves to, it was wide open this year. I mean, really, obviously the Nets were favorites, the Lakers were favorites, and they're going to go into this season as the favorites again. But we saw in the playoffs, we saw how it played out during the year. Injuries always can be a thing. And that the league really is as solid as it is ever. And in both the East and the West, like the teams from 2 to 7, 3 to 7, that range can be pretty much interchanged a lot of ways. And so these little signs are going to make a huge difference. What was the team that intrigued you the most this summer with the moves they made and that you're excited about going into the year?
That's tough. Honestly, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say my I have another pick. I'm going to say my Boston Celtics.
Oh, you can leave with the Celtics. That's fine.
Because you use that word, though, intriguing. I think everything – I don't know for sure, which way the needle's really moving. Or it's moving in the right direction, but I don't know, at what rate and if it's really going to make that much of a difference what happened this summer. I hope it does. It seems like it will. But at the very least, it's interesting, intriguing, kind of like – what you said there, just because we have the old head coach go to GM, we bring in this defensive minded head coach who already has a very good rapport with the Jays and Marcus Smart and a few others on the team. You bring back guys like Enes Kanter and Al Horford, who a lot of people question the Al Horford move. He's washed up. Who cares? If he was beloved by Boston Celtics fans. Then you bring in Enes Kanter, who we allegedly or apparently just gave a rental to the Portland Trailblazers and then took him back, kind of less than a season later. We bring in Dennis Schroeder. We bring in Josh Richardson, who we just extended the other day. So, clearly the coaches, they want defense. They want some 3-and-D guys. They want to surround the Jays with the absolute most they can. They re-signed Marcus Smart. They re-signed Rob Williams. So, at the very least, it's intriguing. Like you said, I think the Celtics are going to be a lot better defensively this year. But as you mentioned, they're going to need to be because how deep this Eastern Conference is. 2-7, like you said, like it's really anyone's guess who gets one of those spots in the playoffs this year in the East. It is similar out West. I think we're going to have a very competitive league this year. But that leads me into my second team, and I'm going to say the Chicago Bulls because
I was waiting for
at the
him.
very least they shook it up, right? They brought in Lonzo Ball. I think people are sleeping on that duo of Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine because Lonzo is probably one of the best passers already in this league. He can throw the half court oop. He can throw nearly a full court oop, and then you have one of the best high flyers in the league in Zach LaVine. And he can go up and get any ball that Lonzo Ball is going to pass him. And then they bring in DeMar DeRozan. They already have Vucevic. I think Chicago is also really intriguing just because, that clear starting five roster that they're trying to make elite. And then, as we already know, they have some great youngsters in Patrick Williams and Kobe White.
The thing I like about, you said, like Ball and LaVine especially, is LaVine showed for Team USA he has like a ceiling defensively that no one wanted to give. Like he didn't have it before. He really didn't try on defense, and now he's like trying and putting effort, realizing he's 6'6" and can move like crazy. And they have a real opportunity to be a great defensive backcourt, and that's going to help alongside DeRozan, who's never been a great defender and obviously is on the older end, not older, but he's not a young guy anymore. And it'll help them kind of hide those deficiencies. We know the potential that Patrick Williams has defensively. I mean, that dude could be a wrecker potentially. And they kind of need that. Vucevic is fine. Like, I think Vucevic gets ripped on too much for his defense. I think that it's gone a little too far, but he's not a good defender either. He's just he is what he is. So that is a really interesting team, and I think that they just added a lot of good pieces. And everyone's like, what does this do for them in the long run? Like, people have to remember, it's not always about like making the move to win a title right now. LaVine's deal is up in a year. He can be a free agent after next year. And what if the Bulls came out and were like, we're going to build around you and bring you good players. And worst comes to worst, if it goes like horribly this year, they can trade Zach LaVine at the trade deadline, and they could get a bunch of other pieces to put with solid players still on this that are going to be on this roster. I mean, LaVine's going to get you a haul if you get rid of him this year, and then you still have Lonzo, DeRozan, and Vucevic that you're building around with whatever you would get from a LaVine trade. I think that they're set up great. I mean, I don't think they want to trade LaVine. I'm not even saying that. But I'm saying worst case scenario, this team is, hanging around a 9-10 seed, and the rumors are starting to trickle out that LaVine wants out. They're positioned to kind of do a lot of different things this year. And I think that flexibility is what's been overlooked about the Bulls.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right too, and that is basically the extent of their flexibility, though, because if I remember correctly, I don't think they have many draft picks for the next couple of years. But like you said, I mean, you already have a great core in DeRozan, Lonzo, and Vooch. Just that three alone is very good. So if you do have to move LaVine, or if you won't re-sign, you have that core, and then at least if you don't have the draft picks, you still have the young guys who were your previous draft picks, and Kobe White and Patrick Williams, and they're both great talents.
And whatever the fucking dude's name is, I don't remember his last name or how to pronounce it, but they got a kid from Illinois. If he outperforms Kobe too, that's another piece. One of them can move too. So they've got.
I know they're already trying to move Lauri Markkanen, so I don't really consider him in the mix. But I mean, hey, if you can get some picks back for a guy like Lauri Markkanen,
exactly.
They have some wiggle room. They have a lot of talent. I liked what the Bulls did this summer. Definitely caught my eye.
Well, my team is none other than the Golden State Warriors. I don't know if this is just because, like, I'm projecting a little bit and just feel like I loved, like, when the Warriors were at their peak without Durant. I mean, Durant Warriors was fun to stay up and watch, but the 15-16 Warriors just going off, and you get the tweets, Steph going off, or he's 5 for 5 on threes, or Clay's going off. That potential to see that again, like catching that little lightning in a bottle, is just too much for me to pass up with just the fact with Clay coming back. Besides that, though, we've talked about this on the last podcast, I'm pretty sure. them bringing in Moody and Kuminga and trying to like thread the needle with these young guys who can complement their current core. We don't know, like these are hit or miss guys, and even going to Wiseman's been hit or miss so far to start. Not saying that hit or miss, like I think they're all going to be solid pros no matter what. Maybe not all stars, but they're all going to be solid starters, rotation players.
They're hit or miss on their ceilings because I think
Exactly.
a lot of them have very high expectations. They kind of already have names for themselves. So yeah.
Yeah, we've been following, like Moses Moody he played with Cade Cunningham. I mean, he was on that team. Jonathan Kuminga, we've been hearing about Jonathan Kuminga as a top 5 pick. He fell out of the top 5 for like 3 years though. And obviously James Wiseman has been one of the most touted prospects when he was coming out of high school too. Like the pedigree of these guys as like McDonald's All-Americans, prospects coming into college, everything, regardless of the question marks, they're highly touted in that regard. So they're not going to be asked to do a lot. Like this team is going to be Steph Curry dominant no matter what. Even Clay and Draymond know that. Like they are the complements to Steph Curry. So how can these young guys kind of mold and fit and be effective right away? Because like Kuminga is a guy that they've never had on the roster, the kind of athleticism he brings. The closest thing they've had is like a Harrison Barnes or Andrew Wiggins, who's still on this team too. And that's the thing too. Wiggins kind of protects them from those really big moments. They can kind of use the young guys in spurts and where they need to. And if they're hot one night, get them in for a big time situation, give them a taste. But Wiggins is one of those guys too, where when we were talking about Vucevic earlier, like he's become too much. People have hated on him too much, where now he's kind of needs to come back to like, he's a very good NBA player. He's just not the superstar potential we all thought he was going to be. And they brought back, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, isn't it kind of funny how Andrew Wiggins is like gone full circle like that? Like, he was the next LeBron or Carmelo. I can't remember. It was him and Jabari Parker, and they were both supposed to be the next LeBron and Melo. Obviously, that didn't pan out. He's been a great player in this league, but now, like we're at the point where he's all reliable on the Warriors to bail out, this core of Steph, Clay, and Draymond if they need some just solid play from their other role players. Like that's what Andrew Wiggins is now in his career. Went from, cover a Slam magazine in high school, going to be the next LeBron, to this, which, I'm not hating on him. He's made a career, out of it. And it's just funny. That's where we're at with Andrew Wiggins.
Yep. It always comes full. The takes can always come full circle. We need to create like a document of like take history and just figure it out, because I feel like especially guys like that are like middle above average guys in the league, it just cycles around. It's like, oh, they're incredible, amazing guys. Oh, they're not good enough, limited, can't win a title with them on the team, and it'll just keep coming around. I mean, I don't know. I'm just really interested with the team building they're doing, the infrastructure that they have. They think that they can develop young guys with whatever they've got there in the culture. Great guy to learn from in this locker room now, even for Wiggins. I mean, bringing Iguodala back is incredible for this team. Like we know how close of. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is that their only real loss was Kelly Oubre Jr. leaves, and they bring in Iggy. So
and
it's
Otto
like
Porter too.
Oh, true. I've even
and
Otto
Porter. I mean, Otto Porter. He's had trouble staying on the court. His best thing is going to be if he can be healthy. But if he's healthy, he's really helpful to this team. And he shoots like 39% from 3 too. Like he's going to help them in a lot of ways.
He could have a Sean Livingston role on this Warriors team, where he just comes in. He can hit that mid-range post just like Livingston could. As you mentioned, he's a better shooter than people really give him credit for. He's a crafty guy. He's just kind of slow, and I feel like he hit a real big decline after his Washington Wizards days, but as we know, if you're playing with guys like Steph and Clay, you really don't have to do that much if you can score the ball. Those guys will find you open, and if not, they'll be making tough shots and kind of carry you. So, yeah. I mean, you lose a guy like Oubre who didn't really fit on this team anyway, and then you bring in Iggy, who is just been a hero on this team over the last decade, and then you bring in a guy like Otto Porter. So, I mean, not really too much of a loss there, and on paper, it looks like a notable loss, but not really if you're this Golden State team.
Yeah, so it's, and I think that's like the main crux of this is that they have a roster that I think would be a playoff contender, potential title contender if things break right without Moody or Kuminga. Like if they would have done like packaged a deal and got one guy or did whatever. But I think now with those guys involved and they're just such unknown quantities, like everybody, the best, I'm not a draft expert by any stretch of the imagination, obviously. But even the best draft experts are just projecting. If these guys come out and life is just easy for them because they're playing with two of the greatest shooters of all time and one of the most versatile players in Draymond, they could be really dangerous. Like you could see Kuminga going off of these like 20-point-a-night games where he's just going off of back cuts, like because Steph's getting doubled at the perimeter and he's just a beast down low. Or Moody's, on a tear and shooting 45% from three from the corner and stuff like that. And at worst, he's like a really energetic 3-and-D guy. We'll see. This team has caught magic before. They've surprised people with this group before. And I just refuse to count out Steph Curry from having an impact on the title race again. Speaking of Steph Curry, go ahead.
No, yeah, Clay is supposed to return Christmas too, which is around Christmas
Around
Day.
Christmas, yeah.
Yeah, so that's also just something to keep in mind with this squad. That's obviously a huge factor to where their success begins. Obviously, great that it's not later than that. And they're probably, we're counting down the days to October 19th, the start of the season. The Warriors are probably counting down the days to that, and then also Christmas time because they need their Splash Bro back.
Yes, sir. Speaking of that, the happy hour hoopers of the summers, we're honoring the people that we've had all these summers. Everybody leaves, all the player movement. We're honoring the people that stayed home this summer.
Yes.
Those are our happy hour hoopers of the summer. Steph, 4 years, 215. Kawhi, 4 years, 181 with the Clippers. KD, 4-year, 198 with the Nets. He's staying. Luka with his 5-year max staying in Dallas. Your boy Marcus Smart, 4 years, $77 million.
Marcus.
Staying. Robert Williams, too, 4 years, $54 million.
Yes.
And then Terry Rozier getting his money, too, out in Charlotte. Talk about
he
that.
He got the max.
I know.
Scary Terry, $97 million.
Anything surprise you? Anything were you just happy to see like players signing max deals staying? And like now that we're going to get like these are all between Boston, Charlotte, maybe in a couple of years. The Mavs are going to want to be pushing that door to get to like a conference final soon. And then obviously the Nets, Warriors, and Clippers. I mean, Kawhi's hurt this year, so that's different. But those three teams have been vying for titles for the last couple of years. Isn't it great to see the league just kind of loading up on their own?
I liked it. Yeah. No, I liked it a lot. The biggest thing I think especially just looking at this list that we're honing in on, Kevin Durant signing a 4-year extension. Not only is it, approaching $200 million, which is, again, very deserved. He's, we don't have to, talk about KD's credentials, obviously, when it comes to getting an extension. But the 4 years, that makes me think Kevin Durant is going to be a Brooklyn Net until he retires. And obviously I'm not saying that he only has 4 years left. I think there's another extension somewhere in there. But I was surprised. I honestly thought that it might be just a 1 year or a 2 year deal with a fat contract because, I mean, no disrespect, but that's kind of been KD's thing. He played in OKC. Yeah. He got out of there. He thought he was getting complacent. He went to Golden State. He won the championships. Wasn't enough. Had his beef with Draymond, whatever that is. Goes to Brooklyn. First season doesn't work out where him, Kai, and Harden are together and they don't get a championship. So, I thought that he might do a 1-2 year deal, 4 year, almost $200 million. I think that means KD might be a net until he retires.
Wow. Damn. I wasn't even thinking about it. Like, maybe it does seem like we've always wondered where he was going to jump to next. And now he's kind of tied there. The Nets are pretty sure that, Kyrie and Harden are locking in too pretty soon. So that's going to be the core for the time being. And that's what I mean. That's what this summer kind of showed me is like we've seen. I feel like maybe we've seen like the peak at least for a couple because the NBA goes in waves, right? Like we had the peak of player movement, and now we're at this point where there's so much talent that there's going to be enough to be spread out among these guys, and they're going to be trying to hold on to it. Like I don't know what the next super team forming somewhere is going to be. We've always had the rumors of Booker and Towns. going meeting somewhere. But that's still at least 3 years away with Booker's contract in Phoenix right now, and Towns in Minnesota. But other than that, like the old guys are staying put. They just want their bread. Like KD's there for 4 years. LeBron's still in the middle of a deal, but he just signed an extension not too long ago. Kawhi's obviously staying. Steph's obviously staying. Like the elite that we have been used to over the last 10 years are staying put. So we're just going to see going forward what it looks like. I'm really intrigued about this year just because of how wide open it's going to be. And I think that this summer kind of solidified that teams just loading up because everybody thinks they got a chance at the title here. But we are going to get into it. This is our first time we have done this segment. We're going to go in every episode with a little Thursday night debate. Wednesday, if you ever seen Family Guy, that's the thing I want to play right now is the Monday night debate thing when Lois is running for mayor. Classic episode. Classic episode. We're gonna have to start getting that ready after this episode because
can't forget Fam Guy.
No, we honestly, I think me and you are. I don't know. We've never actually talked about this, but I know for a fact we're both probably have seen most Family Guy episodes multiple times.
Yes.
And we should be incorporating Family Guy more often into this show. I think we could do it pretty easily. And that will be a way is with this debate. Thursday night debate. We're starting off this week. As you can see our background here, two former friends, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, now on opposite coasts. And I've posed the question in our document earlier. Who will end up higher on your all-time list? Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors or Kevin Durant of the Brooklyn Nets? Dunny, I'm giving you the honor to start this. I want to see I wanted to see out of nowhere. We didn't write down. Neither of us wrote down anything, so we don't know where we're coming from. These takes.
Since you brought this to my attention, it has been pinball
in your brain.
Yeah, it's been a game of ping pong in my brain all day, just back and forth. KD, Steph, who is it? Who ends up higher on the all-time list, Steph or KD? Whew. So I've thought about it. I did come to my decision probably a couple hours ago at this point now. It's going to be Kevin Durant for me. I think just the type of player he was, the scorer he was, just the prototype of a basketball player that, this dude was literally like, if someone was to build the best prototype basketball player in a lab, that's Kevin Durant. That's the Durantula. And he's got the championships now with Golden State. He's prepped and primed to win a few more, probably a handful more if the Nets really play their cards right and lock down Kyrie Irving and James Harden. So he could end up with the championship, the championships over Steph. I don't think he will, if I'm being honest. I think Steph might have that edge. But I think KD is just like, how long has it been that we've just been saying, LeBron's the best player in this league? And now that conversation's starting to die down, but that's a rarity because the last 10 years it's been LeBron's league. And the only guy who ever comes close when the debates got brought up before until now, obviously there's the Giannis's, the Lucas, who might be the new face. But Kevin Durant was always that one dude who just stayed in the conversation. And everyone's like, what about KD? What about KD? He can do everything Bron can do. I just think, his impact on the game, his scoring, how fantastic he's been since a young age, the things he's able to do with the basketball, some of the playoff games we saw this summer. I just think, I don't know. I think KD can just do it, and he's going to have the better legacy when it's all said and done.
It's hard to argue with Kevin Durant, really. Like, he could end up, depending on how many titles he ends up winning in Brooklyn. He's already got 2. He could end up maybe 4, maybe 3 or 4. And maybe, ends up, if he plays for a long time, on those scoring lists up next near to LeBron, on those kinds of lists. That being said, I was hoping you'd pick Kevin Durant because I have to go with Steph Curry.
Yeah,
And
I like it.
I think the way that I'm gonna do, I'm going like negative attack ad here because I think that Steph gets knocked down pegs for reasons that we hold that are like super arbitrary basketball wise, like the fact that he hasn't won a Finals MVP. Fair. Andre Iguodala won a Finals MVP for holding LeBron to like 35 points a game and almost damn near triple double. Like, yes, sure, that's fine. Steph didn't have that greatest series, but he was still the force behind that team.
Yeah.
Steph would have won Finals MVP in 2016 if they win. That's not even close. He was the best player in that series outside of LeBron and Kyrie. He was doing everything he could. There was the Draymond factor that really affected them in that series. And the thing that I will never let go, especially when it comes to this debate, and it's always the thing that I will try to bring up, is that Kevin Durant went to Stephen Curry's team. And
yeah,
the thing about that is obviously they were just the best team. They won 73 games. It fit perfectly. The cap had spiked. He could really go anywhere in the world. He just wanted to win. He was tired of not winning titles, wanted to feel what that was like. It was basketball nirvana. They were talking about all this shit. And it looked, I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, it was some of the most beautiful basketball I've ever seen played. But the reason Kevin Durant's in Brooklyn and not Golden State right now is because all those years while Kevin, how great he was, he won those finals MVPs, all that, it was always going to be Steph. And I just think that there's some kind of magnitude about what Steph has been able to do in the sport of basketball the last 6 years that's changed how we think about the game of basketball. Like,
oh yeah,
that team went 73-9 because they kind of shocked everybody's system. And then it's just become normal now. Like, teams are just bombing away. Like, we've got dudes pulling up from logos in games, like Dame's pulling up from a logo to eliminate the Thunder in a series. Like, these things weren't happening before. These things weren't happening before Steph Curry. I think impact, 3 titles, and if they get one more without KD, I think it's a wrap. I think that's, and maybe they beat KD. If it comes down to a Nets Warriors finals in this year or next year or anytime, like, that'll be the probably in most people's minds deciding factor. I just think Kevin has been blessed physically, and I'm holding that against him in this because what Steph does as a 6'3" guard, 30 years old, he's going to be doing it for 10 more years because he's the greatest shooter of all time. Yep. I just got to do it. It's like slight though. Like, they're going to end up like 7-8, 6-7. Like, they're going to be right with each other. And I think that going forward, as we we start getting older and talk about the good old days of basketball and everything, these two are going to have to be talked about together, like, no matter what. And I love all the storylines of Nets Lakers this year. I mean, obviously there's a lot of connections there, but we still haven't dealt with our Nets Warriors. Like, we really haven't. Like, that is, Nets Lakers would be ultimate NBA Finals, whatever, but Nets Warriors would really bring it home because it would just answer a lot of questions that we've had about basketball for the last couple of years, I feel like.
Yeah, and during that very compelling argument that you made, you brought something to my attention where I did say that I do think Steph is going to have more rings. And I still said I think KD will be, the higher player on the list as far as all time goes. I will say this. If Kevin Durant doesn't win another ring, this is without Steph, this is easily Steph Curry has to be. I think that if I'm picking Durant, that is fair and it needs to be said. If KD doesn't win another, I don't care if it's with Kyrie and James, whatever, that, that's his team right now. That's besides the point. If he doesn't win another one without Stephen Curry, debate's over. Steph's higher all time. That's just like you said. He went to Steph's team. That was a great point. That's what almost swung me there. But I will hold true to Durant, but he does need that ring.
Well, that's the thing is you can make both those arguments, right? Like, they beat LeBron. LeBron is like the third person. Like, this could be a triple threat match, and that's like who defines the last 10 years. But it's interesting because you can make that argument about Steph and KD. Like Steph has the one without KD, obviously, but everybody's like the legacy for what the Warriors are trying to do right now is win one without KD, and KD's legacy is win one without the Warriors, and it's like they're just intertwined forever, and we're only 2 years removed from it happening, and really like we haven't seen the Warriors actually been able to put up a fight because of what happened to Clay. And that's been the most tragic thing is we haven't seen them like be able to give a counterpunch. And that's why I'm so excited if Clay can come back and be effective and be like healthy and this team can be good and a title contender again. The storyline of a Warriors Nets potential finals or even just a Warriors Lakers conference finals, like I don't doubt that man to put them in that position with an actual team around him. I can't. He's proven it too many times that he can fill it up. And the thing about Clay is we saw KD come back, and KD's obviously an alien, and that's like a different factor. But what does Clay really need to do? Like, it's not like he was like a bouncy guy. It's not like he needed to like get above the rim or anything. He's going to get to his spots. He might slip a little bit on defense with those injuries, but I feel like he can come back and be effective. That's what makes this year interesting, the most interesting to me. So now we're going to go in to our last segment is the NBA Finals matchup of the week. I'm going to keep track of this in like a nice little document. We're going to keep following it along the whole year. I'll go with mine first. I think Dunny might be frozen here. It's kind of looking like it a little bit. So we're going to – yeah, Dunny is frozen there. So you know what? We're going to wrap up the podcast here. Next week, when we start our division previews, we will give we got Dunny back. I was just going to wrap the podcast because you were missing, but we can give our NBA Finals matchup of the week if you would like here.
Ooh. Did you already do yours?
I didn't. I can start. So I said we're going to keep a sheet of this. I'm going to make an Excel and see who we pick every week. I'm sure it'll be the same. A lot of times we might change it up a little bit and see where we end up at the end of the year. If we ever were right, maybe we were wrong the whole time. I just feel like that'll be interesting. So NBA Finals of the week, I will start. And I didn't really bury the lead. I've been talking about it. Golden State Warriors, Brooklyn Nets. That is my NBA Finals. I'm going with it. I just laid it all out for you guys. I'm just trying to manifest it because I think that would be as much as I'm turning on my boy LeBron, a Lakers-Nets finals would be incredibly fun too. LeBron and Kyrie, KD and James against Russ, Anthony Davis hanging out, just kind of watching all that chaos unfold. But I want the Warriors thing to be settled once and for all in the NBA finals against each other. What about you? What's your NBA finals of the week?
Ooh. Now I kind of want to do something different because it's the first week that we're starting this. I will take your guy, LeBron.
Ooh.
I will take the Los Angeles Lakers in the West, but against the defending champs, Milwaukee Bucks, are going back to the finals. LeBron versus Giannis is my finals matchup of the week this week.
The Lakers would have to sign back Costas or Thanasis, whichever Giannis, because they let him go. There was like people were making jokes like right after the Bucks signed Giannis, they were like, all right, we don't need this Antetokounmpo on our roster anymore. They have to bring him back though, just for the mental edge. All right, so we've got all different teams for the first one. Let's see how we do. Let's see how we do next time. All right, that'll do it for this version of Javier Hoops. We recap the summer here. Stay tuned with us all year long. We're going to be coming with some previews as it's right around the corner with next week, September. I mean, I don't even know how the hell that happened, but so basketball starting up in October, right around the corner, and we'll be covering it as always. Follow us, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you get your podcasts, you can follow us. Follow us at Happy Hour Hoops 1 on our social media platforms. Follow at Trainwreck Sports for covering everything. We're going to be covering everything NBA, great NFL, Bills coverage, free money football, Degenerate Danger Zone, giving you bets all the time. And we keep it locked here, cover with everything. Let's get it. We got summer. We're ready for hoops coming up. I don't need it to be just yet, not gonna lie. Still can take this a little bit of 6 more weeks. Much as I love it, we were on a marathon. we can enjoy some football for a little before, but we can still be here talking about everything, getting ready for the
Absolutely.
season. Appreciate you. Have a great night, folks.
Later.